This episode is brought to you by Sterling Financial Management. If you've left teaching to start your own business, whether it's tutoring, coaching, consulting, or something creative, we're here to help you grow it with confidence. From bookkeeping and tax returns to full financial strategy and virtual finance office support. We help service-based business owners get clear on their numbers and plan for profit. No jargon, no judgment, just smart financial guidance from a team that really gets it. Find out more at sterling-financialmanagement.co.uk. Download some of our helpful guides for starting out and take the stress out of your business finances. Welcome to Leave Teaching and, the podcast that's all about transformation and new beginnings, with Ruth LeQuee, Lindsay Fecate and myself, Carrie-Anne Booth. If you're a teacher or educator who's had enough of the classroom grind and are ready to discover a whole new way to earn, live with freedom and enjoy an excellent quality of life, you're in the right place. Throughout this series, we'll be discussing a range of topics aimed at helping you leave teaching and start a business, inspiring you with real life stories, strategies and guidance.
Welcome back to the Leave Teaching and podcast with me, Ruth LeQuee, and my lovely co-hosts, Lindsay Fecate and Carrie-Anne Booth. We are super excited to delve into today's episode, where we're going to be exploring your transferable skills as a teacher. Because, believe it or not, you may not believe it, but you actually are the king or queen of multitasking. Genuinely, there is nothing that a teacher cannot do. And we're going to go and delve in a little bit more into all of those sorts of things that we have and that we can do. Start off, Carrie-Anne, can you think of any skills just off the top of your head that teachers have that they might not realise are crucial for business?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, the list is endless. Like when teachers speak to us and say, well, what can I do? I'm just a teacher. Like, you're not just a teacher, you're in everything. You're like a multitasking ninja. There's so much that, like, so many skills that we've got. So I'll go for, I think, like my top three that I use kind of every day in my business. Number one has to be thinking on our feet. I don't know how many times you'll have been in a lesson where you've planned the perfect lesson. Everything goes wrong. You're being observed. It might even be Ofsted, and you're like, shit. What am I going to do now? But you do it, you manage it, and you make it happen and you make it work. So for me, unexpected things happen all the time during live science shows. I've got to make sure that, the birthday parties look seamless, even when they're not. I might have burnt myself, but I just carry on presenting, carry on making those children laugh. And then things like hosting and mentoring workshops and conferences, like things are changing in the dynamic all the time, and you've just got to go with the flow and keep that nice smiling teacher face on and just keep going. And I think the other thing is that I come across quite a lot is when I'm supporting other educators and other business owners, and we might be having a mentoring session or a little meeting, and like thinking on your feet in that way and giving dynamic advice when it's needed, not just like, oh, let me have a think and I'll come back to you tomorrow. But it's about like having all that information and access to it like at the drop of a hat. So I'd say that's my number one. We're awesome at thinking on our feet.
When you said you just keep going, a lot of these little stories I'm going to tell you now, like water themed. So I always think of a fish. So in Finding Nemo, it's Dory, and she goes, "Just keep swimming, just keep swimming." Like genuinely, that is something that I'll always bring to my mind. I'm like, we just keep swimming, we be that fish. And also what you've said as well, I always think of the swan analogy. So this beautiful swan on the top, gliding along the lake, and then underneath their feet are just like, oh, just like this. And that is a skill we have as a teacher a million times over, that 100% you need in business, and especially like the businesses that we do, the things where we've gone out of our comfort zone, or we've spoken on a stage, or I've picked up the phone and I've rung a supplier or a shop where I want my product to be stocked. And underneath, I'm really thinking like, oh my God, like this is, oh, but on the top, I just look like this gracious swan that's like, yeah, of course you're going to stock my product. Like, of course you want me more than I want you. It's all that mentality, but we don't realize that we have that skill within us and we just have to apply it. We're used to teaching and supporting children or younger adults. If you're in secondary, adults are just the same, really. They are just the same. And we just have to transfer it as well. What was your other thing that you were going to say?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, by the way. You've just got to keep going, just keep moving forward. And like you said, because we're teachers, we're used to doing everything with everybody watching us, and that's a massive skill, isn't it? You never taught a lesson to nobody. You taught a lesson to loads of little eyes or loads of big eyes. You've done the assemblies. So I think, yeah, just keep going and just keep going even if people are watching. That's totally okay, and we have to do it. So my other two, I'm going for creative communication. I think most teachers that I know are amazing storytellers because how else are you going to make, I don't know, I'm thinking about my experience. How am I going to make protein synthesis exciting? Well, you've got to build a story around it. And I think to have a business, to do anything, to communicate to anyone about anything, you've got to be a storyteller. So I think for me now, storytelling comes in the sessions that I still do. So I'll talk about aliens on other planets. I'll talk about making the stretchiest slime to build a bridge to save the three little pigs. But I also use storytelling in my business every single day, especially on social media. I'm storytelling all the time because who's going to listen to you if they can't relate to you? Who's going to buy your product if they can't see a reason to buy your product? And telling a story is a really, really big part of that. So I think storytelling, creative communication is up there as one of the big things for me. And not just making a story up for the sake of it, but making it relevant and making it yours and making it authentic. So my storytelling, I'm not just copying J.K. Rowling or a nursery rhyme. I'm telling my stories in my way. And if it resonates and connects with people, then they're probably my people. So storytelling for sure.
I love that one. And I think that ties on nicely to one of the things that I would say is a transferable skill that I've had. So, storytelling, creativity. So, I taught back in the day, like 5 years ago, when actually I had to do a 1 million-page lesson plan for every single lesson. Every one of my lessons had to be differentiated, 5 ways, all of those things that we had to do. And doing all of those lesson plans to that much detail, even though the best head teacher I ever worked for always used to say you can plan an outstanding lesson on a post-it note. But then I worked in a different school where it was the complete opposite. But having that skill of actually, I put absolutely everything on here so that any single person in the world could go and pick up that lesson plan and teach it to the nth degree, for me, has been such an amazing transferable skill. And then the consultancy work that I've managed to gain as part of my business, where I'm writing workshops or I'm writing lessons for other businesses in other industries. And actually, spending all that time doing that has then completely transferred, and I'm now able to do exactly the same thing there. So, what you're saying, it completely makes sense as well.
This might apply to you and Lindsay more than it applies to me, but I think it'll apply to all teachers in some way. I think we are brilliant leaders and brilliant community builders. So you guys, in fact, you had roles higher up in SLT than I ever did. I was a lowly classroom teacher because I didn't want the responsibility of doing all the important stuff, and I wanted to teach the kids. So I never had massive aspirations to be like a head of department or anything. But you're still a leader. You're a leader of those children. You're a leader in your department, whether you know it or not. I used to work a lot with NQTs and trainee teachers and ECTs, and they used to come to me for leadership in that way. So I think leading is really important. Community building is important, but I think leading like leading with the heart as well. A criticism of myself is that I often measure my impact in heartbeats and not pound coins, but it's really hard for me to not be heart led and see the impact and feel the impact. And I think if I follow the passion, the pounds will come later, and they have, and they will, and there'll be more. So I think leading and community building is so important in everything I do day to day. Going into my after school clubs every single week, that is just 100% teacher skills. I know the kids' names. I know what football teams they support. I've noticed if they've had a haircut or they've got new shoes. So you're never really going to lose that as a teacher. And I think you can take that into any community you're working with, whether that's children or adults. My STEAM educator staff room was a community that I've been growing for nearly 2 years now. And I think the feedback that I get from that is that it does feel like a nice place to be. It does feel like a proper community. People feel comfortable. People think they've found their place to be. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking that you want to grow a community or you want to build a membership, you need to be doing that around the thing that really lights you up. Don't just build a membership on some idea that you've seen some multimillionaire do. Think about what you really love doing and who you really love supporting. And within my STEAM educator staff room, I've got a membership, the Catalyst Club, and that's just a small group of people. We meet every week. We have mentoring, we have like coffee mornings, we have other things as well. But everyone feels really welcome and able to open up and talk without being judged, without feeling like they're going to get picked on or bullied. And I think taking the things that you loved from school, really important. We'll have all had those people we'll have gone to if we needed a cry, if we needed support. Even things like if I was teaching something in science and I genuinely didn't know how to do it, like I'd feel scared to go to the chemistry teacher next door who was like Dr. Whatever, and he had like all the knowledge, but he was welcoming and friendly, and he didn't judge me saying, oh, you should know this, you're a chemistry teacher. But he'd help me. And you want that feeling for other people. If you're growing a business, you want people to be able to come to you. And then if you're doing in-person events like my Full Steam Ahead conference or our in-person days as Leave Teaching, and you want to be friendly, you want to be approachable, you want this community to feel like a safe and happy and friendly space. So yeah, leading from the heart and building genuine communities with the passion that you've got inside of you.
I love that. And Carrie Ann, you are like the queen of building community. Absolutely. Your event that we went to, um, was it this month? Last month? I don't know what day of the week it is. It was just amazing. And for me, it echoed all those things that you're saying, essentially like your vibe attracts your tribe. And we've picked up on the words creativity, but having the creativity and the freedom to put your creativity wherever you feel is right for you and leading with the heart. And that's one of the joys for me, that actually that's my passion. And quite often in schools, our own passions or what we believe is right or how we think children should be taught can often be quite crushed, and we have to do it a specific way. But actually now, because you've got that skill as a teacher, but you're doing it for yourself, you can do whatever you want. And like you're saying, the pounds follow the passion. So I completely agree with all of those things. And I love what you said as well about, you are a leader. You might be listening to this thinking, I'm not a leader. Like you said there, I was just a TA or just a teacher. I hate when people use that phrase, but because you guys are like, thinking about teaching assistants, they were the bread and butter that held my classrooms together. But actually, you've led and built that community within your classroom, and all you do is you take that skill and you build it outside in the real world. And it sounds scary, but you do exactly the same thing. And it leads me on really nicely to one of the things that I think has been a really amazing transferable skill for me, which is customer service skills. So again, it's very much like you're saying with building that community, being a people person. But when I think back to the skills that I learned in my role when I was a teacher, or particularly when I was a deputy head teacher, I would go from like 1 second, I'm speaking to little Jimmy who's fallen over in the playground and hurt himself. The next minute, I've got an angry parent banging on the door, wanting to speak to me about something. The next minute, I've got Ofsted on the phone, or I've got someone from the authority, or I've got someone from the SEN team. Like the amount of stakeholders and different people that on a day to day I would have to engage with. Um, those skills I then took into business, into customer services, and actually having a smile and always treating my customers like how I used to teach my parents and the stakeholders that I'd have in a school. It's exactly the same thing as well. Lindsay, I wanted to move on to you because me and Carrie Ann have shared quite a few of the things that we feel have been transferable skills for you. But I know you're going to have loads that really have supported what you've done within your business. So would you like to share one of them?
Yeah, so I think that what's really important to think about is like when you leave teaching or when you're thinking of leaving teaching or you first come out of teaching, like I felt that that teaching was the whole thing. Like, so I'm a teacher, I do teaching. If I don't do teaching, I don't know, I can't do anything else. I don't know what else to do. And I definitely had that feeling when I knew that I was leaving my role and my school when I left. I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. If I don't teach, I'm not qualified to do any other jobs. And it's actually taken quite a few years of not being in the classroom and of leaving to see where those skills are used every day. I think they're so ingrained, we use them without even thinking. We don't even realise that they're skills that we have. So I think that's the first thing, to actually realise that everyone will have skills that you're doing. When you're doing something naturally, you don't see how other people can't do them or don't know how to do them. So I think that's just something really important, because I honestly thought I don't know what to do if I don't teach, because I hadn't broken down what teaching actually involves. And like Carrie Ann was saying, like that even that simple, what seems a simple element of thinking on your feet, like we are problem solvers as teachers. And if problem solving, I think, is one of the biggest, most helpful skills you can have when you're running a business, because things don't go to plan, things won't work out how you want them to work out. You will share something or think of an idea of something you want to do, and it might take off and be amazing, it might not, and you have to problem solve. You're dealing with people, unless you have a business where you don't have any communication at all with directly, but even then you're communicating with your writing, you're communicating the content you put on your social media or on your website. So you're communicating in lots of different ways. And I think that you know we have to problem solve. Everything we do is new tech, new systems, things change. Like what I was doing 3 years ago when I left teaching, that worked really well in my business then, doesn't work anymore. We have to adapt, we have to change. And I think I we don't realize how much problem solving we do, like without even thinking. I mean, how many times have you stood in front of 30 children and somebody pops up at your door because something's happened, or oh, photographer's here, or oh, just to let you know, like we're not going out to play it this time, we're changing this. And like you're constantly solving all these problems. Or that's without the 30 children that are in front of you that have their own things that they are dealing with, and that are happening. And somebody's lost a shoe and somebody's not feeling very well, and all these different things that you're just like firing off like some sort of superhero. And you think about it, like just all these jets coming out of your brain that you're, oh, there's a problem, deal with it, there's a problem, can you, and you're firing out directions, you're firing out instructions, you're asking your teaching assistant to do something, and you're like evaluating what's happening and dealing with it on the spot.
The multitasking. is next. It's next level, isn't it? The multitasking, and you don't have the ability. I always used to like think about things like this. I'd ring a business or something or whatever. I'd be like, "Can I speak to the person in charge of?" They'd be like, "Oh, we'll get back to you by the end of the day," or "Oh, I'll put you through to the person who deals with that." You do everything. You are the teacher.
And when you first go into business, you are the only person doing everything. So you need to be doing some marketing, sorting your accounts out, delivering the service that or the product that you're doing, dealing with tech and customers and parents and children, whatever you're doing in your business, you're dealing with lots of different people at the same time, and those problems will come in loads of different forms, and that skill of being able to, okay, what's happening, what can I do, and solving it and then moving on to the next thing, I think is amazing in teachers. I think we really underestimate that sort of problem solving.
We are so good, guys. I feel like we all need a pat on the back.
Well, I think this is why so many ex-teachers have amazing businesses. Like met so many people, so many ex-teachers over the last 4 years that are running really, really successful businesses. And it's because they've got all these skills that they've learned and honed and practiced that they can run their business as they do.
Absolutely. We're not afraid of a bit of pull your sleeves up, we sort an issue out in the boys' toilets, and then we'll go back into this meeting with
Yeah.
with whoever. We are not afraid of adaptability either, are we? Have you got anything that you could say has been a transferable skill that's perhaps um more really like to do with safer recruitment, or perhaps something to do with like managing a budget, something that you've been able to take that has helped you in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like what we call those soft skills, aren't there? Like the people skills, the communication, problem solving. I don't know if I class that as a soft skill or not, but then there's been very specific examples that I maybe didn't realize I would ever use again, like the safer recruitment. So when I first started tutoring, I was tutoring by myself and didn't have anyone else working with me. And then as I started my agency and took on tutors to work with me, all that practice that I did as a deputy head, because for quite a chunk of my career as deputy head, I was in charge of the support staff in school and did interviewing and recruitment and that sort of thing. So I'd had experience of that. I'd done safer recruitment training. And then I could bring all that experience when I was taking on other tutors to work with me. So not only like knowing about DBS and single central records and all those things like that, but actually knowing the questions to ask when I'm interviewing people and the best practices. And obviously they change, but I got a good solid foundation. I never thought I would use that again, ever. Didn't think about it at all. Um, the managing the budget's an interesting one because there is no budget in school.
To manage.
Yeah. So I think that's a whole other thing, and I know we talk about that, but that like not having a budget is just as important as when you have money to spend in your business, and actually that mindset around spending money and needing to spend money to grow your business and develop and things like that. I think yeah, we'll talk about that another time, I'm sure. We could have a whole podcast about that.
We should, we'll do that. We'll add that to the list. Amazing. Do you know what? I think that we've spoken about so many useful things that hopefully if you're listening to this have just made the clogs turn in your brain, thinking a little bit, oh yeah, actually that will help me do that and I can do this. And I always say this, but it was so true. When I first left teaching, I used to say, I know everything about education, but I know nothing about business. And that was kind of me protecting myself in a way of being like, if people say to me, you don't know this or this, it's that way of you like saying it's okay because I'm not meant to know all of that. But actually I did, and didn't know it all, but I did have the skills to then be able to go and learn, and learning from other mentors and other business owners actually made me see that I did did know what I was doing. You just need that guidance, you need that hand holding, and you need taken in the right direction. And it's trial and error, like we say. You will have some days that are amazing, you'll have other days that you're like, what on earth is going on? Like, I can't do this anymore. But we have that in teaching too. We are so resilient. We get up, we turn up, we carry on, and we do it for the kids. And in business, your why will become so important. Why are you doing this? What is it for? And that will make you keep going, be committed, and you will absolutely succeed. And be sat here. Maybe you'll have your own podcast one day. Who knows? But I just wanted to end on saying, you've got all your skills, you can transfer them 100%, but do not be afraid to outsource when you can, because you've got the skill doesn't mean you need to utilize the skill. And that can be applied in lots of different ways, but you will get to a point where you suddenly realize, actually, that's a skill I love doing, that's a skill I need to use, the rest I'm going to outsource, and it will help you to grow even more as well. So thank you for joining us today. It's been a really lovely chat, and I look forward to the next episode. You've been listening to the Leave Teaching and podcast with me, Ruth LeQuee, Lindsay Peckety and Carrie Ann Booth. If you've enjoyed our conversation today, don't forget you can follow us on socials to hear about future episodes, events and ways to help you leave teaching and start your own business.